talks among you.
Greetings YouTube, I'm back with another segment on Lex Talks Games, and gosh, that's actually a bit of a tongue twister now that I try and say it out loud a few times. But alright, so this topic actually is going to be a bit controversial. Actually, it might actually be a lot controversial in terms of opinion wise, but let me just start with this. Alright, so Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, which game is better? Most people say Modern Warfare 2, and for me, both of the games are in my top 3 favorite multiplayers for out of all the Call of Duty series. However, here's where it gets controversial. What if I were to tell you that my favorite of the two was actually Modern Warfare 3? I know, I can feel people like intently staring through their screens. Like, I know I just lost a few people there, but allow me to explain why, or and how I came upon that opinion. For me, there is 4 main components to what makes a COD game good. That's balance, that's maps, kill streaks, and the creator class arsenal, or all the kind of tools that are in that kind of feature for the game. And between all 4 of those, when I compare COD games, I've taken all 4 of those into account. Now let me start with maps. Now, it'd be hard to find it would be hard to find someone who would disagree with me on this, but I think the maps in Modern Warfare 2 were by far much better than Modern Warfare 3. So yes, I am admitting this point. I definitely love the maps more in Modern Warfare 2. Like Modern Warfare 3, I think that's where it fell flat mostly. And maybe for a lot of people too, and that's where people didn't find as much enjoyment in that game, is because of the map design. There was a couple here and there that were pretty good, but like in general, Modern Warfare 2's maps, dang near all the maps in that game were just so good, and that's where it's just so fun to play on. So yes, I will give Modern Warfare 2 the win on that category. Now let's move on to the creator class system. Now with Modern Warfare 3, it pretty much had all the same stuff that Modern Warfare 2 had in creator class, plus more. Sure, it did get rid of a few things, like I believe stopping power wasn't a thing. There was a few guns that weren't in there. I don't believe like the F2000 was in Modern Warfare 3, but for the most part, a lot of the guns that were in Modern Warfare 2 were also in Modern Warfare 3. Same with perks and even like the tactical lethals, whatever you call those things. And in general, like having those more options just felt so good for me personally. Having all of these extra gun options, and I even liked how they made shotguns back into a primary, because we'll move on to balance, because this more has to do with balance purposes, but for me it did feel better. Now having each class have its own kill streaks, I know a lot of people didn't really like that, because you had it made the creation of those classes take a lot longer to do, but for me it worked. I really liked having customized classes. Like if I wanted to make a class for search and destroy, I didn't have to go in and change the kill streaks that I wanted to play for the mode. I'd already have the class and the kill streaks set up all in one, and that was just beautiful for me. So Modern Warfare 3 wins in that regard. Now let's move on to kill streaks, since we were just talking about it. Now Modern Warfare 2, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's around 15 kill streaks. In Modern Warfare 3, you almost get like triple almost that number, because you had an assault class of kill streaks, a support class, and then you had like another, I think it was specialist, where you could each kill would get you like another perk until you had all the perks, which was a great, I thought that was awesome like kind of concept, and I thought that was super fun to experiment with. And if for players who couldn't really get the high levels of assault kill streak, you could always run the support kill streaks and get some pretty sick kill streaks, like EMP, or like the escort chopper, I think, which like dropped a bunch of like supportive care packages and stuff. And there was a whole bunch of cool stuff in that in its own regard. And you can even get like an AI Juggernaut dude with like a riot shield. Like the assault version, they had like you could get like in your own like assault Juggernaut suit, I think. But still, like you could have these options. It was beautiful. And I thought that was just so good. Like, it took Killstreaks and just made it so much more fun to like experiment with. There was so many more options, and I love that. So for me, Modern Warfare 3 wins in that regard too. Now we move on to the last and probably the most controversial and most opinionated part of this video would be balance. Now for me, I'm going to start off and say I do think balance in Modern Warfare 3 was better. Sure, there was a couple weapons like I think the FG, like those machine pistols that like start as a briefcase. You flip them in the air and whatnot and it turned into a gun. I remember those being super OP, but if you remember, they also got nerfed, and this was one of the first Call of Duties that I remember where actual balance changes would happen to the game to make it more balanced. So that in its own right is a win for Modern Warfare 3. But if you move on to Modern Warfare 2 and you look at the balance in that game, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of thrown balance out the window. Like, sure, some things were super fun to use, but they were also super OP. Like, just off the top of my head, let me start. The Spaz, I mean, who remembers getting like shot like 40 meters away by that gun? The AA-12 was an insane freaking shotgun, and remember, shotguns were secondaries too. Like, that was the ultimate camp weapon. It was crazy. And then you had things like, you had guns that basically dominated all their whole category. Like the UMP-45 was just better than like every other submachine gun. It was dang near better than most of the assault rifles in the game. I mean, you had the FAMAS, the ACR, and the SCAR that basically dominated the assault category, and the snipers. The only gun that was really insane was the intervention, which, by the way, if you got so good with the intervention, you could basically win 1v1s like at any point, at any range, all the time against every weapon. It was that good if you had the skill to master that weapon. Now sure, you have to put in the skill to do it, but no gun should be like that where it beats everything at all points at all ranges, despite the amount of skill you have to use to get to that level, because that's not balance. Like, if you have balance, is being able to have certain weapons that are good at certain points, certain weapons that are better than certain weapons at other jobs. But if you have one weapon that just beats everything, well, that kind of defeats the point of balance. And then that's not even including the perks. Like, why would you ever run anything other than stopping power? And even like Scavenger was pretty insane to use over the other perks that were offered in that, I think it was the perk 1 category. And then in Killstreaks too. Why would you ever run a chopper or attack chopper over a Harrier strike? Like, I think I can count on one finger the amount of times I've seen attack choppers in Modern Warfare 2, and I was like 7th prestige or something crazy. Like, that was hardly ever used because Harrier strike was just so much better in every way. And even like the Predator missile compared to like the Sentry gun, both are like 5 kills, and why would you pick the Sentry gun? I mean, maybe in objective-based modes it might be good for defense, but if you're trying to go for that nuke or something, it's just so much harder to call a care package, collect that care package, and set up the Sentry gun so it can get you kills without dying and losing your kill streak. It's so much easier just to sit on a laptop, pull out the Predator missile, and get at least one free kill, which it basically was a free kill with that one. And like the attack chopper, I was saying, it's the same amount of kills to get an attack chopper as a Harrier strike, but I don't like, it was just so much worse than a Harrier strike. It's actually laughably worse. And why would you, and like something like the EMP, which is a good kill streak, but at 15 kills, is it worth it? Like, I feel like the AC-130 and the Chopper Gunner were just so much better to use than an EMP, and the nuke was just so much better to go for than the EMP, even though that was 25 kills, granted. But I just feel like in the game, there was only about like maybe 6 or 5 kill streaks that really should ever have been used. And again, that's balance issues. With Modern Warfare 3, I honestly felt like most of the guns in that game were usable and good. There weren't any guns that dominated like the game. There wasn't any like a lot of the kill streaks were fun to use. They were balanced. They even I think in that game they even took out like spawn killing with the AC-130, which I admit I missed when I first popped into an AC-130 on Modern Warfare 3 and couldn't like spawn kill dudes. But You gotta remember, when you're balancing a game, you need to be able to balance so it's fun to use and it's not super unfun to get killed by. In Modern Warfare 2, I felt like there was a lot of things that were sure they were super fun to use, but on the receiving end, they were hella unfun to get killed by. Getting spawn killed by like an AC-130 or chopper gunner right the immediate second you spawn felt horrible. It was terrible for that to happen. And it just felt so bad. It made a lot of people would rage quit after that. Like getting killed by the intervention in like a nanosecond, it seems like, before you can even aim your gun. That just doesn't feel good, and especially if you have like something like a submachine gun and you're getting like this guy's able to aim with his intervention, kill you before you even aim down your sight. It's crazy. Like that just doesn't feel good. Danger close, one-man army with noob tubes. That felt horrible to get hit by, because the explosion would happen like 20 feet away, and and you'd still get killed. Commando lunges like across the map. It's like some of these things were just so unfun to get killed by, and that's why I think balance in Modern Warfare 3 is better than Modern Warfare 2. So if you're keeping track, that's 3 wins for Modern Warfare 3, 1 for Modern Warfare 2, and that's why I liked Modern Warfare 3 better, and I honestly had more fun playing it. Like I said, though, I loved them both, but Modern Warfare 3 does win, in my opinion. Now, that does it for the end of the video. I would love to hear you guys' opinion on this, because it is very controversial. Anyways, please like and subscribe. I could really use it, and enjoy the rest of your day.